DVD wise and audio wise, like a live album potentially at some point, because something else that we've never done, and our songs have get their own live. They've changed from the record to the live show. They have their own kind of
Yeah.
personality, I guess
Yeah.
you could say.
How much do you change the set list from? Do you change it much?
Yeah, we change it. We change it every tour.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it consists of a lot of the same songs because those are the songs, I guess, that people want to hear, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's basically just many songs from all our releases, you know. We try to cover all grounds, you know,
Yeah.
like from the first thing we ever dropped,
Yeah,
Ball of Destruction, to Empire,
yeah,
you know, and Rebellion EP.
yeah.
We try to cover all angles, all bases, you know. It's
Right.
hard. It's hard because we want to keep it exciting, not just for the people, but even for us.
Yeah. Well, but are there any bands that you find exciting at the moment? What are you listening to?
Terror.
Terror.
I find them exciting. I listen to all kinds of music, you know. So yeah, it's really hard to. I mean, you know, I listen to everything. I listen to hip hop. I listen to a lot of old music. You know, I listen to all kinds of stuff. But in terms of hardcore, and you were saying what bands are exciting. I mean, you know, look at all the bands on the Rebellion tour lineup. Like, you know, they are all doing something cool and exciting. It's obvious because look at the crowds that are turning out. Like I mentioned, Terror. You know, like they're you know, they're not a new band per se. You know, but a newer generation. You know, the next generation from our generation,
Yeah.
I guess you could say.
Yeah.
And they're an exciting live band, and musically what they're doing for hardcore, I think it's a good representation. And so yeah, I'm always impressed by what they're putting out and their shows and stuff. And then you got the old timers who are actually still putting out great music.
Yeah.
And still putting on great shows, you know, bands like Agnostic Front and Sick of It All.
Are you much in
Still-
touch with your brother?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
course. Yeah, he's my brother, so regardless of anything else, you know, yeah, we're always in touch, checking in on each other, make sure everything's all right with the families and whatnot. We haven't met up in a little while, but, you know, we try to get together when we can. You know, our schedules sometimes conflict, and then sometimes we get lucky and we cross paths on the road or something like that, so it's cool. Yeah, that actually happens sometimes, yeah. I mean, those guys, you know, are still doing exciting things for music, and they just did the Persistence tour, and I heard, and they had a great reception every night, and I'm happy to hear that because they're one of the pioneers of this scene,
Yeah.
you know. They're, you know, the generation before.
That's a good question, actually. What's
Yeah.
the story behind you becoming a musician, being the frontman of Madball? Perhaps you could.
Well, it's tied into Agnostic Front, you know, and you know, Roger Moret is my oldest brother. We have a different father. That's why the last name is different. I'll just put it out there because a lot of people always ask that question. Are you really brothers? I mean, you're Cricien and he's Moret. And the reason for that is that we have different fathers. Same mother. Our mother's from Cuba. And actually, Roger was born in Cuba. So yeah, I have a different father than my older brothers and sisters, but I was always into music. My whole family is very into music, you know, different kinds of music, Latin music. My parents listen to all Latin music. My brothers and sisters, rock, hip hop, this, that. And Roger was into punk and hardcore. And so, you know, I sort of ended up gravitating towards that because I got to hang out with him and got to be exposed to all these things, you know, in the Lower East Side, going to New York, hanging with them, and, you know, seeing these things happening firsthand. I took to it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it. I guess, I don't know. I guess I always had a rebellious side to me. So did he, obviously. And so I guess we shared that, you know, and he introduced me to all that, and introduced me into the whole scene, and then I would go on tours with AF, and then after that came, you know, when you know, they'd hand me the mic, and then I'd do a song, which actually first happened in New York when I was like 7 or 8 years old. Mouthing the words to like an Agnostic Front song that I had heard, that I was, I guess had memorized, and I was maybe even not even realizing that I was mouthing it. And I think Vinny saw me, and then my brother saw me, and they were like, let the kids sing, And that's how it started, the tradition of me going up and singing. It was just kind of like, not really planned, just kind of happened. They saw me doing that, and they gave me the mic and tried to say, let's see what you got, kind of thing. And I was scared to death, but I pulled it off. I did it.
Yeah.
And then it became a thing. At some point, they thought it was a good idea to put out a 7-inch with me singing, and basically took a bunch of Agnostic Front songs, record them, and with me singing, and that was Madball. That's how I was born.
Yeah.
That's how it all started.
Yeah.
And then obviously it evolved from there.
Yeah.
It evolved into its own thing. It started as a side project of Agnostic Front, and that was kind of how it got. The name was out there, and the name got out, and all that.
No, thanks for
Yeah.
for shedding some light on
Yeah.
your history. I think
Yeah.
our younger viewers will appreciate that.
Yeah, hopefully. Hopefully.
You said, I read in an interview, you said that music business is a hard business, and it's hardcore, especially is a hard way to make a living. What keeps you going after all those years?
I guess I just have so much invested in it, that both emotionally, like, spiritually, physically, like, I got introduced to it at a young age, and never really thought that I was gonna make it my career. That really didn't come until way later, even in my 20s, even in my early 20s, even when we were putting out Set It Off and all those records. I didn't really look at the long term or the bigger picture. I just was kind of going with the flow of everything. And it's hard to look at, a scene like this, or a musical, subculture like this. It's hard to really envision it becoming a career for anyone, because like I've said many times, we're like the working class of the music world. Like we're the guys in the trenches. But over the years, I guess when you stick with something, you do start to see something back from it, not just financially, but appreciation, and when you start to see it growing, and you start to see like things like Rebellion Tour, for example, those are things that sort of reaffirm why I'm still in the game.
Yeah.
There was a time when a lot of bands would have to do the music thing and go back home and work, and some people still have to do that or choose to do that. But I've pretty much invested everything in music. I don't work construction anymore when I go home or whatever. I may do an odd job here or there.
Did you do that at the beginning of
your
career?
Yeah, I did everything. I worked construction jobs. I was a longshoreman. I was a security. You name it. I did it. Legal, illegal, all kinds of shit. But, something always drew me back to the music. And I think it's the fact that it was always an outlet, a positive outlet. Even if we were venting about negative things, or venting about the lifestyle we were living, or venting about what we were seeing and what we were experiencing, there was still always a positive outcome. And it took us out of our neighborhoods and brought us to places like, Vienna, and you know what I mean? So there's things like that that are priceless, the fact that we've traveled the world doing this kind of music, and then the money, that's just, it gets better. It's gotten better over the years. We're not living in big mansions. We're not millionaires. That's not the kind of lifestyle. the kind of lifestyle a lot of us live is very modest
Well,
in the hardcore
How
world.
many days of the year are you on tour on average?
Yeah. Well, you gotta stay busy. I mean, we do it in a way where we allow time for our family in between.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different.
Yeah.
You know, there's guys that want to stay on tour the whole year, and that's their business, that's their choice, and that's fair enough.
Yeah.
I mean, you do have to put in a certain amount of work to be able to sustain yourself.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you know, we're not a huge band that can do 5 shows and not have to worry about working for the next 5 years. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, you know, for us, as the term goes, we live check by check,
Yeah.
so tour by tour, and so
Okay.
on. So it's a very
So
it's a very modest living, but the fact that we've been able to make it to where we can make a living is, I think, it's good.
it's really
something. It shows
that-
something,
that-
you know.
that's-
But it's also because, you know, you got to stick with it.
Mm.
You know, I think there's a small percentage of us in the hardcore world that can actually make a living doing this, and we're lucky to be in that small percentage.
Yeah.
But it's all the work that you put in. It's like anything. It's like any job. It's like anything. It's what you invest in it.
Yeah.
It's how much work you put in. All those things factor in, and we're still, you know, on the front lines in the work. In the, you know, we're putting the coal inside the ship, inside the ovens of the ship, so it can run old school style. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but hey, again, you know, we've invested a lot of ourselves in this. You know, we've lived this thing, so it's almost like you want to see it through.
Okay.
You want to see, you know,
What-
it grow into, you know, whatever it's supposed to grow into. There's always room for growth because, you know, again, we're at the end of the day, no matter how many festivals we play, no matter how many cool tours we play, at the end of the day, we're still an underground hardcore band. And we have no problem with that. But I still think that there's room for growth for the hardcore scene as a whole. I think it's good that it hasn't gone from one extreme to another. I think it's good that it's grown at a steady pace. And I just would love to see it continue to grow, or at least stay consistent and continue to find a way to, without tainting like the integrity of what it is. That's the goal. I also do, you know, put shows together. That's another avenue, another endeavor I have.
Okay.
And that helps me also pay my bills and sustain myself.
So, okay.
You know, aside from just Madball. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, if I was just doing Madball, it'd be kind of hard to sustain myself. But I have other things that I do
Wow,
related to music.
that's really interesting because
Yeah.
you are really successful with Madball, and if you're saying
Yeah.
that you have to do even other things to
Yeah,
sustain yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, just the one thing is not, you know, you can stretch it and you can make it enough, but you know, yeah, I try to, you know, do other things to help, you know, keep my family comfortable, and also to keep myself involved in something I'm passionate about, which is music.
Yep.
You know, I have Black and Blue Productions along with my partner.
Yep.
And we put together a big event every year in New York, and we put on many events throughout the year, but the one that everyone knows about is the Black and Blue Bowl,
Yeah.
which is a Super Bowl of hardcore that we took over. It's going 8 years strong now.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, we try to give back to the New York scene that we're from.
Yeah. On that
Sustain
note,
ourselves.
Freddie, look, thanks a lot.
Yeah.
Really appreciate.
Woke up in a bar of sweat, feeling like I have nothing left. My heart's in fight, but my mind's beat to death. I'm in that dark space, taking shallow breaths. Thought I could get a grip.